spawned by the continuing decline and fall of society as we know it, and created on the second-floor spare-bedroom studio in the Piedmont of South Carolina. Podcasting on a shoestring budget and changing the world one freak at a time. It's the B-Moviecast with your host, Vince Rotolo.
From coast to coast and worldwide via the internet, this is the B-Moviecast, the podcast of unusual film and television. Hello everybody and welcome to episode 374 of the B-Moviecast. Hope everybody's doing good out there today. We're doing fine down here. Real quick, for any listeners out there, the B-Moviecast, the podcast, we talk about all things B-movie. We talk about cult movies, sci-fi, exploitation, horror, teen delinquent, mystery, film noir, sword and sandal, kung fu, biker, vintage TV, foreign movies, spaghetti westerns, Mexican movies, psychotronic films. We cover a lot of ground here, I guess. We also cover a little bit about the expos, books, magazines, and anything related to the genre. I think we have a good show for you lined up today. Add out. Of course, the website's bmoviecast.com, where you can go over, subscribe to the podcast. It's free, and join our Facebook groups and play the contest and check out the Letterboxd site and all that stuff. You can check it out at the site. And Nick's site is bmoviemand.com, where he has a bunch of movie reviews and stuff. And one site is shop.fifthdimensionfilms.com. So with all that said, go ahead and take a short break, play some clips for you guys, get Juan and Bob on here so you have time to go grab your beers and TV dinners and come on back for this week's podcast.
Hey everybody, it's old Roger D from channel Donstar, and I just wanted to take a moment to make a little appreciation video to someone who actually inspired me one of the many people who inspired me to create my channel on YouTube, channel Donstar. While I was looking around, I love B-movies. I love all movies, but I love B-movies. I love the movies that I grew up as a child, the sci-fi movies, Amazing Colossal Beast, The Beginning of the End, It Conquered the World, War of the Colossal Beast, Invasion of the Saucermen. Gosh, those movies had created nightmares to me as a young child. And one day I was looking around just for some information on the movies I Was a Teenage Frankenstein and I Was a Teenage Werewolf, and its third feature, How to Make a Monster, which R.I.P, I believe, incorporated together. And I came across this podcast called the B-Moviecast, run by a gentleman called Vince Rotolo, and I was instantly hooked on his podcast. He was such a easy listening host, someone that you could listen to any just seemed like one of your friends or a neighbor or just someone that, gosh, he loved these movies too. And I used to call into his show, his podcast, and give my little comments. And it was the first time I ever listened to a podcast. It was the very first podcast I ever listened to. I had never listened to any podcast. And his was the first. The B-Moviecast was the first, because it was like, oh, people are talking about movies, and they're talking about the movies I like. And not the modern films, but the films that I grew up watching. And they were so great. And his podcast enlightened me, and as he would describe the films, I would constantly be nodding my head. Yes, that's exactly why I love them. What you're talking about is why I like them. And I've stayed with the podcast up until this day. To this day, I've listened. It was my favorite podcast of all time, the B-Moviecast. Vince Rotolo. And throughout the years, he had added his wife, Mary. God bless you, Mary. And Nick Brown and Juan Ortiz, or Ortez. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, Juan. Juan used to do extra work in a lot of movies of the 80s, which I had seen. I never knew you were in those. And it's so great that you were. And you used to share, you would share those stories on Vince's podcast. And Nick has come such a long way. He is such a great writer, writing the Werewolf for Hire series, and now doing a screenplay, and I believe a producer credit on a new independent film, which, forgive me for not knowing. I'm sure I'll put it somewhere what the film is, because I can't wait to watch it. But my God, Vince, Mary, Juan, Nick would every Sunday morning release a podcast. They would record a podcast, and every Sunday afternoon they would release a podcast that I would listen to every Monday morning while I was at work. I had a job where I was able to have the time to listen for 2-3 hours while I was sitting at my desk. And those were great. Those were great times. And they still are. They still are, because Vince and the gang has made such a catalog of podcasts covering so many movies, and not just B movies, but modern movies, that is so entertaining, so laid back, so relaxed, so much like a part of your family, so much like a friend you have. It was something I looked forward to every single week. And excuse me. Sadly, Vince passed away, and of a heart attack. Way too early, way unexpected. I started listening around episode 117, which was about I Was a Teenage Frankenstein, which is something I was looking for. And I stuck with him ever since, all to the end. And I do hope, in some way, maybe, between Nick and Mary and Juan, you guys can continue the show. I think Vince would appreciate that. Yeah. It was a sudden shock when I woke up this morning. Excuse me, guys. Excuse me. I know a lot of my viewers are like complaining because Roger always cries on his videos. He's always crying about something, but hey, this is... I'm sorry, but this one gets to me. Vince, you'll be missed. Vince, you will constantly be loved. Vince, your legacy will live on. Your website and show will live on. Please head on over to the B-Moviecast.com. Listen to the hundreds and hundreds of podcasts he has done. I believe he has been doing podcasting for 10 years, and he has inspired so many other listeners, so many other podcasters out there that will continue to talk about B-movies and movies in general. And Vince, you inspired them. You inspired me. Although I didn't make a podcast, I went on and started doing YouTube stuff. But it was all because of you. And I always figured if just somebody who shares the love of movies or a certain kind, of movies, and you just want to talk about them, you will embrace an audience that will want to listen to you, that will want to contribute, that will want to continue to listen and appreciate what you have to say about those movies. And you've created this wonderful little universe between you, Mary, Juan, and Nick. And it is so wonderful. It is so wonderful. And it is such a shame that you went so early. Shouldn't have happened. But, thus is life. And, I wanted to do this just as like a little 10-minute thing, and I can't even, I can't even see how long this has been. But, thank you, Vince Rotolo. Thank you for the B-Moviecast podcast. Thank you for bringing joy into our hearts. Thank you for introducing us to so many other great fans of films, of these films. You will be missed, Vince. Mary, God bless you. Vince. Nick, God bless you. Juan, God bless you. Long live life. Long live the B-Moviecast. Rest in peace, Vince.
All right, guys, that wraps up another episode of the B-Moviecast. I hope you all enjoyed it. I'd like to take the time to thank all you for downloading and listening. We appreciate that. Have a great week and hope to see you all here back at the B-Movie Clubhouse next week. And don't forget, take some time to watch some B-movies. Ciao.
Transmission. Revelation.